Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to mixing ratios for the following brands of paint. We've got Liquitex we're going to look at today. We've got Createx Wicked colours. We've got Createx Illustration, FW inks, System 3 ink, Aquafine, which is a watercolour ink. We've got an acrylic paint, thick bodied like craft paint. We've got golden high flow and Dred custom skin. So I wanted to go through some mixing ratios with you because you're probably going to be picking up one of these brands of paint or go down one of these brands of paint lines to start airbrushing with. So I'll give you some mixing ratios. I'm going to do a split screen just here. We'll put the bottle of paint what it is, and I'll give you sort of a guide to sort of mix it down to where you're going to be able to spray it. That's the main thing, it's getting these paints out the front of your brush, because some of them are ready to spray and other ones are really thick, and it's just knowing how to thin it and what to thin it with and what's the best sort of flow improver for it. So we're going to start off with, we'll go the easiest one first, and I think it's golden high flow acrylics. You get these in the big bottles and in the small bottles. You get transparent, you get opaque set, and you also get the thick bodied acrylic, which comes in the similar sort of bottles but with a flip lid, a little flip lid. I've got some of them. So golden high flow, I've used it from day dot when it comes to airbrushing, and I was basically more using that for custom painting. I wasn't doing sort of pictures and things at the time. I was sort of basically doing like crash helmets, cars, motorbikes, and I was always using golden high flow for my artwork, and I found it sort of easy to get on with. It adhered down to the substrate that I was working really good. Great colour range in there, flowed great out the bottle anyway. You can spray it straight out the bottle with golden, but I used to find mixing it to sort of these sort of consistencies. So the opaque set I would go 1-to-1 with water. And with the transparent set, I was sometimes using it like 1-to-1, always like 1 drop of water, 1 drop of golden, just going from that. If you wanted to sort of pull your opaques more across to a transparent, you'd use the high flow medium, and that's their flowing agent. It's like a creamy type white this is, so it pulls the colour and stretches the colour out of your opaques and just pulls them across to a transparent side but keeps the body of the paint there. It also flows, makes the paint sort of flow a little bit better. So I used to mix the golden 1-to-1 with water and then put the flow improver in as well, a couple of drops of flow improver and stretch it out. So that's how I always worked golden, never had any issues with it until later on. Golden got brought out, I think, or took over by somebody else, and the formula slightly changed, and I noticed a difference in the paint. Didn't sort of spray the same, it was a little bit cloggy, even though it was like looking like the same consistency as the original. It just seemed to clog and choke up the brush no matter how you thinned it. If you put water with it, it used to just break it down too much. It was like beyond spraying, it was like always spidering. It was just hassle after hassle with it when they later on when they changed it. So I kept the original bottles that I've got like an original set which is running really low. I've got enough to do a few jobs with it, and that's it. I never sort of replaced and replenished the golden stock, sort of moved on trying different paints. But that's golden high flow, how I'd mix it, and the results were good that I mixed it too. The next one you're going to come across is going to be like your cheap bottles of acrylic paint like this. You see it in art shops, hobbycraft. Now the reason why I picked these up and had a go with these at the time, I was doing a set of wheels and things like that, and I wanted like a bronze type colour, and going through hobbycraft I found this cheap paint, it's like £1 a bottle, thick acrylic, really nice sort of like bronze and copper colours and gold colours like metallics, and I thought really like that, I'm going to give it a go. So I was putting this through a big spray gun and I was mixing it 50-50 mix, getting it to a mix like it would a base coat mix for spraying solvent paint, and it laid down brilliant, had some great results with it. So that's why I always say you can use your craft paints for airbrushing, but you've got to thin them. So thinning ratios on your craft paints, can be a little bit sort of hit and miss. Sort of go 50-50 and just add water to it and just keep stirring it and stirring it. And you're aiming for a consistency of semi-skimmed milk with the craft paints, and you'll get it through your airbrush, not a problem. And that'll be running about 20 psi and slightly under if you've got it the consistency of semi-skimmed milk. So just aim for that with that stuff. Moving up to like Wicked, Createx Wicked, I had the original set of Wicked. This is going probably back to 2010, 2011, around there. I had an original set of Wicked, brought it while I was on a class, because you get inspired by the class and the paint that you use on the day, so you end up buying a 60 or 70 pound set of paint, come home with it, and I didn't get on with it. It was like reducer, you mix in, you put in loads of reducer in to try and get a consistency to spray. You end up burning through the bottle of reducer that you got, and then you got to buy another bottle of £12 reducer. You got to order it from Ireland because that's where you did the class and that's where you can buy the paint from. And then there's the shipping and all this. And it was like, you know what, this paint, I can't get it sort of locally to me. I can't get it easy. I've got to send away for it. It's fiddly. I don't know much about it. Yes, I used it on a class, but you were sort of taught through how to use it. And I thought, you know what, I need more of this set than the set I had at £70 to be able to do anything with it. It was like a little miniature set at 70 quid with the reducer, and it was like, I used it a couple of times and put it down. I thought, no, I'm sticking to golden, because I was always using golden at the time. That was my go-to paint. And I brought this other paint line, brought it in, had a go with it, didn't like it, ran out of reducer, and I thought, you know what, I'm not paying £12 a bottle of reducer every time just to be able to thin this paint when I can use water with golden. It's cheaper option, and this works. So I stuck with golden. Later on, years and years later, came back to Wicked, new version, and had a go with this. Had a few bottles sent out, didn't buy a whole set, just had a few bottles of it. I thought, right, we'll give it a go, because it's great for automotive, which it is, good strong pigments. Tried it with a certain reducer, and then years later you're better at mixing. You're sort of, when you're first starting out, you're throwing colours in, you're throwing your reducers in, you're making a mess, you're wasting paint. More so now I don't. So using the Wicked now and using it like mixing ratios of this, so I've found Wicked mixing it with the 40-21 works really good. Wicked's a very thick paint. You don't put this straight in the airbrush and spray it, it just won't. It's like thick artist acrylic. It really is thick paint. So I would go like 1 drop of this, if you can get 1 drop clean out of one of these bottles with the flip lids, go 1 drop in a mixing pot and add 3 to 4 drops of 40-21 and mix it up and see what that consistency is like. You're aiming for the semi-skim milk. But I found 1 drop to 4 drops of the reducer gave me a good consistency for spraying, so I sort of stuck to that. Then I tried Wicked with another reducer, because I was doing a lot of like the real tight, small details. So I was getting into doing the like miniature portraits on credit cards, and you really need a paint that's going to flow perfect with no hiccups. You don't want none of this stop starting when you're working on a portrait that big. You want the paint to be flowing absolutely bang on, and you want to be able to thin that paint to its absolute maximum so you can get real soft shades out of it, and just add a little bit of paint just to bring the tones up slightly out of one colour. So I found mixing the Wicked straight with isopropanol when I was doing my little miniature portraits, it worked brilliant. It really did. Literally 2 drops of Wicked to a whole bottle, probably like 70-80 drops of ISO straight in it, ball bearing shaker, mixed it up, and it flowed brilliant. It really did. And I was doing all the micro portraits that you see me do on the channel, and it's like a sort of dark plum tone, one of their blacks. I think it's the Magna, I think it's called black. That with the ISO was my go-to out of the Wicked range for doing all the miniatures, because it just flowed and broke the paint down so well. So you can mix Wicked that way if you want to have a go at some real tiny little detail, but that's working on paper. If I was using the Wicked for automotive, I would use the 4021 reducer. You'll get the same results by using loads of the 4021, but you get as just good results using the ISO, but you don't know what the ISO is doing to the actual paint pigment itself. When you're spraying on paper, it's all right. You're just doing little doodles on paper and little portraits. When you take that across to automotive, what is that ISO doing to that paint when you need it to be able to bond down? Is it taking some of the bonding properties out of it when you thin it that way? So I'd rather belts and braces use the Createx 4021 if you're taking it across on another surface other than paper. If you're using paper, give ISO a go, you'll absolutely love it. So that's Wicked. Moving on to another Createx product, which is illustration. I've not played around with this paint enough to really give you a good sort of like, yes, this paint is amazing. I have used it on what it's meant to be used for, like doing the erasing on like synthetic papers. I've used it for that. I've used some of the transparent in the illustration, like the Payne's Grey, done portraits with it, and had some great results with that. I really do like the Payne's Grey in the illustration. Flows straight out the bottle, and if you add the 4021 to it, it flows even better, or you can add water to it. So a good sort of ballpark mixing for illustration, I'd use distilled water. Again, some of these you'll find that they spray out the bottle, some do, some don't. But mixing them down, I find just like, I do it like golden. I'll do 1 drop of that and 1 drop of water, 1 drop paint, 1 drop water, or 1 drop paint, 2 drops water, and just stick it to that ballpark and you'll get good results with it. Same as if you use your reducers like the 4011 with it or the 4021. Go a drop of paint, a couple of drops of reducer, and you'll be hitting sort of a nice running pressure at that paint mix, and you'll be able to get details quite down right up close. You won't have any issues if you stick it to that sort of ballpark. So that's illustration. It's got a great colour range. It's got near enough every colour you can think of, but it just seems a little, for me, it's just a little bit too involved with all the other little additives that you have to bring into it. Like there's so many reducers that you can use with it. There's balancing clears and UV. There's all these different products that you can use with these paints. It's a big system to get into when you go into Createx. A great paint, but just so much. And if you're in the UK, you're going to be paying a lot of money for it, because it's basically, over in the States is where it's sort of made. So if you're over in the US, it's probably peanuts to get hold of, you know what I mean? And you get hold of it really easy. But in the UK, you've got all these shipping duties from America over, and then the retailers and resellers in the UK got to put their bit on it, so it bumps the price up. I mean, you can go on Amazon and you can pay up to like 14, some of these bottles I've seen like that size, 14, 15 pound a bottle. It's a lot of money, and that's like the 60 milliliter one, you know. It's a lot of money, 14, 15 pound for a bottle, but it does go a long way if you use it right and if you thin it right, because it's very strong pigmented. So it's whatever route you want to go down with your paints. But that's the experience I've had with it mixing. Works great. I've done some good pieces of artwork with it. You can do erasing with it and things like that. Next up, we've got the Daily Rowney set. Now, this is where I'm using my sort of core paint scheme, is with the Daily Rowney inks now, because I find they flow really well straight out the bottle. So if you wanted to just put it straight in your brush, you're going to spray it, you know. But when it comes to inks, the pigments are really strong. So you don't need to use it straight from the bottle. You can really thin this down and dilute it and stretch the colour, because they're very strong pigmented. So we'll move on to like Aquafine. Aquafine is their watercolour ink. So it's sort of bonding properties are very soft. Just think of it as very soft because it's a watercolour ink. It's spray straight out the bottle. You can dilute this down. There's no really need to, but you can if you want to stretch it and make some really nice, even thinner, washed out, transparent mixes. I would use their flow improver or water, but my go-to would be the flow improver. With any of the daily roundies, after using it and trying it with this, the flow improver worked great across the board. So you can use the flow improver in the Aquafine, you can use it in the System 3, and you can use it in the FW. So it's one flow improver that goes across the board in their sort of ink lineup. Some nice colours in the Aquafine. What I like about it for airbrushing is having it in that sort of my paint scheme. It's got a nice variety of colours and they're very translucent test. So if you want to do some real like washes, if you spray this down, you can wet it back up. You could put a cotton bud with water on it. You can blend it and wet it back up. You can get blending brushes. So you can blend that paint by brushes or use of airbrush. So it's a really good one to use. You've not got to thin it, but you can if you want to. System 3 would be basically, if you're looking at a paint, you could put this on par with Createx Wicked on what it can do. System 3's got real good bonding properties to it, so you can use it for automotive. It will go down on automotive all right. You can use it on leather, fabrics. That's, if you go on the Daily Roundy site, you'll see when you type in System 3, it pulls up a lot of images of on clothing, leather, trainers and things like that. It's got really good bonding properties in it. You'll find this one is a little bit more creamier. The actual ink's a little bit creamier, and I think that's due to the binders and that's in it to make it adhere and dries down waterproof. Now to mix this, you can spray it straight out the bottle. When I had Giorgio over here doing the leather jacket, he was running it straight from the bottle, not thinned, and he was running about 25 psi and it was atomising great, and he was spraying onto leather with it. So you can run it around 20-25 psi, great atomisation at that. So it's out the bottle, you can spray. But my sort of tests with it, bringing that into my paint scheme, you can really thin that down using the flow medium. You really can. You can do a mix of like 2 drops of this to say 10 to 15 drops to 20 drops of flow improver and still have really strong pigment. And that's what I like about the inks. For the small 30ml bottle, you can make duplicate bottles of that colour and still have real strong pigment for when you're painting. It's really good. So System 3 works great with the flow improver, but sprays out the bottle as well. The Aquafine System 3 and FW inks, they're all intermixable as well. So you've got a mass of colours that you can use. You can intermix them. They all sit on top of each other, not a problem, or intermix in your brush. And use the flow improver throughout. Now when it comes to FW inks, that's my core set on my paint system, on the scheme that I'm using, is FW. Now, mixing this, it'll spray straight out the bottle, you'll have no issues. But for me, spraying it straight from the bottle, I think you're wasting it. I think you'll go through your 30ml bottle really quick, you really will. So using their flow improver, you can use flow improver and you can dilute this down with water. The Aquafine you can bring down with water. System 3, I've not tried it with putting water in it, I've just used the flow medium and it thins it great. But FW, you can use the flow medium, and I'd do a mix of 4 drops ink and just have a go at just trying it up to like 20 drops flow improver. You'll get an amazing flow in airbrush ink, you really will, but you'll still see really good pigment in the actual ink when it lays down. It'll be really strong colour. So it's up to you, you can really flow it out as much as you want. You can also use, and you probably see me on the channel, do ISO mixes, which is isopropanol and probably a couple of drops of water on these little miniature bottles that I do, where I'm doing sort of miniature mixes, 10ml bottle, and you're measuring up 10ml. So you get a ruler and measure up 10ml, put a line, and that's your mixed paint, and then you're flowing it right out with flow improver. And that's what I've done with the FW, and you can do that with the ISO in the FW mix. If you want to do an ISO mix, it works brilliant. I've had some great results with it. You will get a little bit of more smell in the air because you've got a solvent. So extractor or mask when you use it, if you're using solvents, any of the paints really, extractor or a mask, because they've all got properties in that ain't really good for you at the end of the day, even though they say they're water-based and it's okay, environmentally friendly. It's paint particles that are floating around in the air and you're breathing it in. So you can do your FW like that, and you can mix it down with ISO if you wish. I've had great results with it. I've got another set with an ISO mix. I'm running Flow Improver at the minute on this. It works brilliant. Now on the Dred Custom Skin, because I'm using the FW Daily Rowney system with the System 3 Aquafine and FW inks, the Dred Custom Skin again intermixes across the board with them and works perfectly, flowing it out with the Flow Improver. So you're getting basically you're getting a 30ml bottle, the same as the FW ink. When you pick up the Dred Custom Skin, it will spray straight out the bottle, it really will. But again, I find the pigment's really strong in this, so you can stretch it. You can stretch that little bottle of paint out by thinning it as much as you want. You can really stretch it out and you get some great results. You can use that again if you wanted to do ISO mixes with this, and decant some of this out and do an ISO mix and run it on an ISO mix, just straight ISO mix with this in another bottle. Just decant a bit out and give it a try. You'll get some great results, you really will. Especially working on papers, what I'm doing at the minute. I'm sort of mainly working on papers. That just works for me, it really does work. So they're the paints. We've got Liquitex as well, which is an ink. Straight out the bottle, flows. I've not really tested it on different flowing agents through it, but I just go water. It's going to spray straight out the bottle. Again, very strong pigmented paint is Liquitex. So I would just put it in your brush and drop a couple of drops of water in, probably go a couple of drops of the ink and probably go try 4 drops of water, you know, drop 4 drops of water in it, give it a little bubble back on a test and just spray, and you'll be amazed on how well the inks give you that real solid opacity, even when they're thinned out, when you really over thin them, because the pigments are so strong. So there's my little mixing ratio list for you. Just have a little play on them sort of guidelines, and I don't think you'll go wrong, you really won't. And once you've got and you've found how you like your paint to be flowed, sort of, it boils down to what pressure you're working at as well, what you're working on. Are you permanently custom painting? Are you permanently working on paper? Are you working on 3D miniature models, or the little miniatures, doing the Warhammer? You know, these paints will work for all of this. It's just getting that right flow, you know, because I can get this to flow completely out, like really, really thin, and I can sit at 30 psi and get micro detail down with it, because then it boils down to how good are you on the trigger on releasing that paint. You can run really high pressure and you can sit there and you can be that good on the trigger. You can put that minimal paint down, it just sprays with no spider webbing. You can just hit it, you know, and you can feather the air. So it goes on how good you are on the trigger, what you're working on, what surface you're working on, what brush you're using. Are you using a 02? Are you using a 05? Are you using a siphon feed? Are you using a trigger airbrush? You just got to get your paints to that sprayable consistency. So once you hit that consistency that you like and the air pressure that you run at, your best thing to do is start mixing your colours down to smaller bottles with a shaker in, with the flowing agent in, so they're pre-mixed, ready. So you're not working from your set like this, because guarantee it, with lids like this and you're mixing, flipping these all the time, they get congealed, and then you get this paint goes off a lot quicker because you're permanently lid off, lid on, squeezing it out, gets dirty, gets all chipped up around the top, gets contaminated. You leave these as your core set and you put these in another room, and then you just mix your paints from these and just put them down to another bottle, and that's what I've done, and I find it works best. So all my FW are all mixed down to these bottles. So I'll just replenish these and have all the mixing ratios. This is the other video that I did, working from a system and a paint scheme. Master your paint scheme, get all your bottles decanted down, all your colours decanted down, make your colours up, make your swatches up. You've got references to all your mixing ratios, and all your paints are flowed out with the right correct flowing agent, and then all you're doing is painting. Every bottle of paint will spray, and that's how you need to set your paint scheme up for airbrushing. It really is. It's not going like from bottles like this and then mixing on the fly, and you know, just start mixing your swatches up, mixing your paints up, decanting them down, and it will just make your paint scheme last longer. You won't throw it away doing silly mixes on the fly in little pots to mix paint up, then it'll get thrown away. You've got more control over your paint scheme. You really have. You've got more control. You know what it does, you know what intermixes with what, and then you're just painting and enjoying it. And that's all you need in it. That's what you need when it comes to mixing ratios and things. You just want to get that bang on consistency that comes out the front of the brush. So I hope this helped. I'll leave links to FW, System 3, Aquafine will be in there. The main core ones that I use that I think are brilliant, they'll be on the site. Createx, I'd search like Amazon, and your Wicked and your Liquitex, you're best just to go through Amazon, because I could put a link on there to somewhere and it'd be like, you know, someone else is going to find a cheaper place to go, and everyone just seems to go sort of Amazon. Your FW and that, the site that I'll leave you a link to, I think is the best sort of prices you're going to get. You may get the odd bottle on Amazon that pops up a little bit cheaper, but if you're in the UK and you want a good solid source to get these paints from, and the Dred Effects custom skin's going to be released soon as well, there's a link in the description for that. When it comes to golden, would I recommend it? I still recommend it because it got me to where I am now, but as I say, it's changed. The ingredients is changed on golden. I think it really has, and I didn't want to trust it like I used to, because I know it's different after trying some of the recent bottles that I brought. So I don't know. I really don't know. Aquafine, System 3 and FW all day long. Liquitex, I've not used a lot of it. I've got a little set of it to do more with it. But what I have tested with it, it's a real nice strong flowing ink, and it works. Liquitex is old school. It's been around for years, so it's good quality stuff. And then you got your Createx lineup. I'm not a lover, you know. I like Wicked. I've used illustration. I like the illustration. Like using the Payne's Grey for me, for doing the monotone stuff. It just flows really good. And the illustration, I don't sit with it enough. I don't sit with doing realistic portraits where I'm erasing all the time and doing that. I do a little bit of that, you know. I add a little bit of erasing into my work, or a little bit of scratch back here and there. I'm not fully into doing that. So for me, Createx illustration is a great paint. I probably need to sit with it more and have more goes with it. But I just find it, there's too many different, with Createx, there's just too much stuff that goes with it. And it's like, becomes a very expensive paint scheme to get into, especially if you're in the UK. You'll be blowing a lot of money, you really will. It'll be the dearest paint scheme to go in out of all of these. Definitely, out of all of them, you know. And the other ones will get just as good, if not better results as the Createx illustration, and you're getting it a lot cheaper. It's going to save you in your pocket. So, you know, that's up to you guys. You know, you may follow these big artists that are doing all these photorealistic work, and they're working on synthetic papers, and everyone's using illustration. And you usually find it's over in the US. Come to England, and it's like, I really want to get this paint and go down this route. Then you look at the prices, and you think, hang on a minute. That set's going to cost me £400 for the set just of paint, and then you're looking at the flow improvers, the different clears that you can buy, and agents and primers, and it's like, it becomes expensive. So just a little bit of advice there, depending on what you're going down. But I have no issues with the FW. It works. it's working for me in the studio. I'm getting great results with it. I can take Aquafine System 3 and FW down any application and have a bit of faith in it that it's going to work and perform, and that's why I'm using it. So hope you've enjoyed it. Drop your comments on what paints you use, because there's so many out there. You know, if you find one that works, stick with it, and hopefully the company stays producing it, because you usually find a company makes a paint, you get really into it, and then they stop making it, and it's like, oh, I really used to like that paint, or I really used to like that colour in that brand, and they don't make it anymore. You know, these are your, I'd say, heavy hitters that are in the airbrush world. They really are. Would be Createx, Liquitex, FW inks, System 3, Aquafine, Golden. They're like your main. I mean, there's loads of other ones, but they're, for me, are the main ones that I know, that I've tried, that work. You know, and I've got the results with. So it's entirely up to you. So drop your comments, tell me your thoughts, and I will see you lot in the next one. Cheers, guys.